The controversial issue of mail-in voting is making headlines again this week after Democratic pollster Josh Mendelson made this claim in an interview with Axios. Let's take a listen.
We are sounding an alarm and saying that this is a very real possibility, that the data is going to show on election night an incredible victory for Donald Trump. That is likely to be what we see when every legitimate vote is tallied and we get to that final day, which will be someday after Election Day. It will, in fact, show that what happened on election night was exactly that, a mirage.
Now, the president, of course, took to Twitter to react to that claim and another article about it by tweeting, quote, rigged election, question mark. Joining us now are the GOP party chairs of two battleground states where every vote in November will matter. Jane Timken of Ohio and Rich Anderson of Virginia. It's great to see you all. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, Jane, obviously mail-in balloting is a big deal right now. And I think that you saw that quote from that comment from Josh Mendelson, that there's a concern that President Trump would be declared the winner or look like he's the winner on election night based on people who vote in person. But as these votes trickle in and they're counted, that Biden would somehow become the winner after they're counted. Walk me through the process of what happens in Ohio with respect to mail-in votes.
Sure. So in Ohio, I think we have one of the best systems and have had for the last 10 years. The Secretary of State mails to every registered voter an absentee ballot application. Those folks can fill out that application, send it in. For 28 days, starting on October 6th, people can vote in person at their local boards of elections. Our absentee ballots are mailed out if requested. People return those. They have to be postmarked by November 2nd, and they have to be received at the boards by November 13th. So we have a very secure system, and those absentee ballot applications are verified at the boards of elections with signatures and other verification information like driver's.
Jane, you just said something that I think is really important, right? So the election is November 3rd. People have to cast their ballot by November 2nd, right? But then it has what it looks like 11 days up to when it can be received. Is that accurate?
That's right. It has to be postmarked by November 2nd, and then it's, that's our laws. The boards have to accept that, understanding that our mail, we all know, has delays, and that is part of our process, recognizing that. They cannot be received after that, and they will be rejected after November 13th, but they have to have that November 2nd postmark on them. If they're mailed after November 2nd, they cannot be accepted.
Now, Rich, I'm a Virginia girl, born and raised, and you're representing Virginia for us today. Now, I got this in the mail. It's something just a couple of weeks ago from the Center for Voter Information. It was filled out with my information on it. I'm going to turn that real fast, but it had, my information. All I had to do is sign it and send it in. Now, this looked like something official from the government. I was really confused at first, pretty savvy on these things, but even I was a little bit confused about what it was and where it came from. I mean, is this a concern to you that people are getting these kind of things in the mail in the state of Virginia?
Yes, it's a huge concern. It came from a third-party group, and it's obviously a group that is sympathetic to the Democrat Party, and it's just an exercise in voter confusion, fraud, and voter suppression in the final analysis. There was quite a bit of media on that, and people are concerned about it now, to the point where the Republican Party of Virginia has distributed requests to 800,000 Virginia voters that they can mail in to their registrars of voters and receive an absentee ballot. But we have received a huge number of inquiries from legitimate voters saying, what's going on here? Is this legit?
So how did they get my
what
information?
It was intended to do is create confusion. Pardon?
How did they get my information? I have
no idea. I have no idea. I would suspect this is a Democrat front group, and I would imagine that their sourcing of data was from the Democratic Party.
Oh, concerning. Now in Virginia, just like Sean asked, Jane, how they're handling this mail-in voting. How are you all dealing with it here in this area in Virginia?
I'm sorry, say the last part again.
I said, how is Virginia handling mail-in voting? What's the plan there?
It is what we have done is we, of course, have traditional in-person voting, in fact, much like Ohio. And then we also have absentee in person and absentee by mail. And we are encouraging individuals, if they want to be absolutely sure that their ballot is counted, that there is no intervention between their completion of the ballot and its receipt by the registrar of voters, that they vote in person. They can either do that beginning on, I believe it's September the 18th, all the way through a couple of days before the election, or they can do it in person. There is also traditional absentee voting by mail for those individuals that may not be able to make it to the polls. The difficulty, though, here is that this universal mail-in balloting has been introduced by the Democrat majorities in the House and the Senate, and those will distribute unsolicited ballots. It will facilitate ballot harvesting. It will permit deposits in ballot boxes that are unsecure.
Yeah, a lot of people are really concerned about it. But there's also some concern about some of this other stuff that's going on. And Jane, I want to turn to another topic. I want to talk about this controversy going on in your state, where the superintendent of a school banned the thin blue line American flag, which honors the police, after some high school football players carried it out on the field before their game last weekend. Now, I was at dinner a couple days ago, and my waiter had a BLM shirt on. So how is it that, that doesn't seem to get any pushback, right? That kind of organization, but something that supports law enforcement and high schoolers is getting canceled. Why is that, Jane?
Well, it's even more egregious. I'll remind you, in 2012, we had a horrendous shooting in the Chardon schools. And actually, the police officers who came in and protected those students and saved quite a bit of lives. The students of Chardon are very supportive of the police and the fact that they protected them a few years ago. If I question if the superintendent of schools is banning the thin blue line flag, is it the American flag next? They're basing this on a potential racism, but it's a free speech issue, and I think these students have First Amendment rights just like the rest of us. And I wonder how far these schools and the left is going to take these issues.
Yeah, it's amazing. Rich, thing that's amazing to me coming out of Virginia right now is that the House of Delegates, which you used to be a member of right now, that's controlled by Democrats, is working on a bill right now with everything else that's going on in the world to lower the sentences for people like murderers and rapists and other violent offenders. What's happening in the House of Delegates there?
Well, they have a bill transiting the General Assembly right now, which would permit credit for time served in such a way that it would essentially cut sentences in half. And the difficulty with that is, I tell you, the victims of rape or murder, they don't get the pain cut in half that they've sustained. This is all in consort with initiatives on a whole wide range of issues that are complementary, but it's all about enabling these people. I'm talking about violent offenders and working against sworn and badged law enforcement people.
Definitely concerning again on these fronts. Interesting to hear about what goes on at the state level, because we're often so focused on the national game. Now, coming up next, hair for me, but not for thee. Not only is Nancy Pelosi not taking responsibility for her blatant hypocrisy by going to a shuttered hair salon, she's blaming the salon owner and calling it a setup. Speaking of hypocrites, where's the media outrage over that? The Media Research Center's Rich Noyes joins us to weigh in.